The situation at Namcor. I'm now joined by Patrick Kauta, chairperson of the Namcor board. Mr. Kauta, good evening and thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Evening.
We briefly touched on the reasons for the special leave in that insert. Can you just expand on what necessitated this investigation?
The investigation is necessitated by the issues I think the viewers just heard and irregularities in procurement, basically. So, or prima facie views with respect to irregularities in procurement. That's basically what, and I don't understand why you're mentioning special leave. This is just a normal annual leave. There's nothing special about this leave.
So it's not leave that was instructed upon by the board to the MD?
Well, I think leave is voluntary. It's a voluntary leave, voluntary annual leave. And I think as Mr. Mulunga correctly says there, he applied for it and it was approved. There's also another error there. An impression is created that Mr. Konyore as well was put on leave. In fact, Mr. Konyore was on leave already since last week. So there are no special requests here, so no, nothing should be read into this.
Okay. Both Ministries of Mines and Energy and the state-owned enterprises need to be consulted whenever disciplinary action is action against the MD. Has this process been done and have both ministers agreed on the board's decision?
Yes, I agree with you only to the extent that there need to be consultation. I do not agree with you that there need to be an agreement, in fact. To read into an agreement, it will mean that, in fact, that the board's discretion is fettered. That can't be correct. Were they both consulted? Yes. Both ministries were consulted. We have their views in writing, albeit, I think, Enterprises' views only came to us, the written views only after 3 o'clock, but I think apart from that we knew where they were going. I think we had communication with the minister, so we knew exactly where they stood with respect to the consultation process. Okay.
The board also resolved to revoke the suspension of the marketing manager, Cosmos Damasep. Can you shed more light on why?
Mr. Damasep was, it's important to maintain the integrity of the whole process. And Mr. Damasep, the board felt strongly that no impression should be left as if any person is victimized. Hence the revocation of his suspension. And I think while we are at that as well, an impression is also created that the board has appointed an acting MD, as it were. That is also not correct. I think in terms of Namcor policy, when the MD is going on leave or when he's traveling out, he appoints the MD, and that's what has happened in this instance.
Okay, so the acting MD was appointed by virtue of the MD going on leave and not as a decision of the board.
Absolutely.
Okay. There have also been media reports that since Mulunga was appointed as MD, that there had been bad blood between him and Minister Kanjole. Is this situation as a result of a break in trust between the MD and the minister, and by virtue also then the board?
Well, we read that in the papers, and I think it's far from the truth. I think the board takes, if I give you an example, if the board has taken 100 decisions since last year, and it agrees with management with respect to 99% of those decisions, and it disagrees with one every time this aspect comes up. And I don't think a breach of trust should only implicate one decision. I mean, if there's a breach of trust, then it means the situation is ungovernable. But for 99% of the time it does. But when you differ and have a difference of opinion with respect to only one instance, why it always goes to this, it really baffles me. You know, so I don't think there's any breach of trust, and I cannot really speak of other discussions that may have been between the two of them with the previous board and the likes. We have not even, as a board, engaged in those sort of discussions. I think we deal with the business of the matters as they come, and that's basically what it is. So there's really no breach of trust there.
Well, if there's no breach in trust, then what would necessitate the board to institute an investigation, primarily that of corruption?
We have not investigated. It's also another error that I think I must also rectify.
Okay.
There is the board has not accused any person of corruption. The board has received information in writing from a whistleblower, as it were, relating to irregularities with respect to a specific tender.
Okay.
What that investigation will reveal later on, or what that evidence will show, it will be determined by the outcome of that investigation. So to say there are corruption and the likes, I think it's going a bit too far, and it's putting the cart before the horse. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that there are facts, and both ministers, in fact, agree that there must be investigation. They differ perhaps with respect to the method of what should happen. So there are allegations, and the allegations need to be verified or tested.
Correct.
And that's exactly what is happening here. Nothing sinister, nothing out of the ordinary. And it's a decision. The decision with respect to what should happen ultimately in any event is a decision that rests squarely with the board, not with any minister.
Mr. Gota, before we run out of time, lastly, come the 20th of January and the investigation is not complete, what steps are there then for the board to take?
Oh, well, there's no board meeting scheduled before then, to my knowledge. So we have not, as a board, decided what will happen before then. The process will run its course. The leaf will come to its end and the likes, and the cards will fall wherever they may.
Okay. Mr. Gota, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you
you
so much for making the time to join us once again.
No, thank you.